Hello everyone and welcome to some MiSTer FPGA news. This week we will be talking about TapTo project updates, a screensaver that runs games when your MiSTer FPGA is idle, a new arcade core, and more. Also, check out my channel sponsor MiSTer Add-ons, a place where you can get all your MiSTer needs, things like full MiSTer setups, I/O boards, accessories, and more. Now let's get to the news. If you own an arcade cabinet or leave your MiSTer FPGA on for extended periods of time, you might be already using Super Attract mode. This is a script that treats your MiSTer FPGA game library as a screensaver. When your MiSTer FPGA is idle after a few minutes, it will load up a random game, then every few minutes it will load up a new random game. If you like the current game that's being played, just grab your controller and press a button and no more games will randomly load. Now with the release of the 0 MHz DOS collection and how easy it makes it to run DOS games, Super Attract mode has added support for MS-DOS games. If you've already installed the 0 MHz DOS collection, then all you have to do is update Super Attract mode to enable this. Check the links in the descriptions to see how to download Super Attract mode. Here are some updates regarding the TapTo project. You can use NFC cards to boot up games on the MiSTer FPGA. Andrea Bogazzi updated the online label designer to include the search engine from the gamesdb.net. This should provide more consistent results, and you can also now filter by platform. Andrea also created some new NFC templates that are modeled after floppy disks, very useful for the recent support to launch Amiga and DOS games. Ariel Aces also finished a couple of holographic label sets for some consoles. He's created a Game Boy Advance set, and he also created a Neo Geo set. With the Neo Geo set, there's also some labels for the back of the NFC cards you can use. The next game in the MiSTer FPGA Game Challenge is Bubble Symphony on the Sega Saturn. The Sega Saturn core was recently officially released, so this is a great game to get MiSTer FPGA owners together and check out the Sega Saturn core. This is a single credit score challenge and goes on until April 8th. All scores must be submitted to the MiSTer FPGA Discord. Another core is now working on MiSTex. It's the NES core, but there are some limitations like no save states and no PAL or NTSC support. Also for the MiSTex board, the default 256 MB of RAM of the FPGA board is now usable, whereas before only 128 MB was usable. Bandwidth was also doubled from 8 to 16-bit access. There's also a new revision of the MiSTex baseboard fixing some minor issues and even including an image of the MiSTex mascot above the logo. The MiSTex project has been having some nice steady progress. It wasn't too long ago when it was only in the design stages and no cores are running. Now we have the NES core and several arcade cores running on the project. MiSTex is a fork of the MiSTer FPGA project whose goal is to have cores running on different FPGA boards. On some cores, Hotego fixed an audio issue where sound effects were too faint. This issue affected the Simpsons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Aliens cores. For the Bubble Bobble core, fixing sound took a little bit more work, but Hotego's team was able to get it resolved. Hotego then started to continue to work on the Splatterhouse core, which runs Namco System 1 games. With this new work, Galaga 88 is now playable in beta form. On Patreon, Hotego gives a lot more details regarding the core development and also gives technical details on the sound issues affecting games I spoke about earlier. You'll also get access to all his beta cores before they are released publicly. The Toki core developed by Solal Retro Gaming has been released. It's currently only available on GitHub, so it must be installed manually. On the GitHub, there are some very useful instructions on getting the core set up. If you are a fan of Toki and or appreciate the work that Solal Retro Gaming is doing, you can support their work on Ko-fi. There is now a downloader script made specifically for the 0 MHz DOS collection. The script will update MGL files from GitHub and even download zip files. Keep in mind that it currently only supports downloading the full collection, which clocks in around 30 GB. So make sure you have enough space on your SD card before using the script. To use the script, just download it from GitHub and copy it to your scripts folder on the SD card. Then boot up your MiSTer and run it from the scripts menu. Sorge has been implementing changes to the MiSTer FPGA framework that enables the use of the upcoming 24-bit I/O board. One change force disables 24-bit mode on legacy I/O boards when switch 2 on the DE10 Nano is on. Doing this will have no effect on the digital I/O board and version 9 analog I/O boards. Another update to the framework will allow the use of dual SD RAM on a naked DE10 Nano board. For this to work, you will need to turn on switch 3 on the DE10 Nano. The Saturn core has added support for SNAC, but at the moment it only works with the standard gamepad. There are also many fixes to different parts of the Saturn hardware, and games that were specifically affected are Bubble Symphony and Waku Waku 7. So that's it for this episode. I provided links to all my sources in the description. Make sure you also check out RetroRGB.com to see my MiSTer news videos in blog form and to get more retro related content. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and its bell icon so you can get notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.